As the world burns. Just wanted to give everybody a heads up too. This is our very special Marvel movie Culture Burns episode. Culture Wars. All right, so you want to do Marvel today?
I don't know anything about Marvel.
Yeah, you do. You know plenty about Marvel, dude. What are you talking about? All right, there we go. Now I sound better. Ah, finally. Fantastic. That sounds better. All right. Well, I don't really know much about DC, so I think we're fine. So we can just come at it like that, I guess. I don't know. But I would like to talk about Marvel's failing movie industry, and I would like to talk about what led up to this moment and the politics involved, and the what is it?
Can I be for real with you right now?
Yes.
As soon as I started watching Daredevil, the new season, I got bored.
Really? Even with the first 20 minutes?
No, because it reminded me that the original Daredevil was actually starting to get boring.
Was starting to get bored?
Yeah, I was like, Daredevil was cool for me the first season, but every season after that, there's like 2 more seasons. It didn't capture me like the first. But I was getting more invested in Luke Cage, and then the Defenders happened. I loved all that shit. I was surprisingly bored with the new season of Daredevil. I only watched the first episode, but it just reminded me of how.
See, that was the episode that got me.
Yeah, I know it's pretty crazy, but
I was bored the second episode, to be honest with you, but I liked the first and the third episodes.
It's just that, like, it's just more of the same to me, and I know that's what they wanted. They didn't want to change anything, but like, I was already getting bored with Daredevil. I forgot that because it's been so long.
The thing that I hope doesn't go on, and somebody we both know mentioned this. I hope. Well, he said this, but I second it. He hopes that we don't have a whole like bunch of like what's the word, like CSI or like courtroom drama type stuff. You know what I mean?
I think that's what they were originally go for before they changed it all back to being more like the original show.
I like that though. But so I'm kind of with you on that though because of the courtroom drama stuff. But at the same time, what I think is one, my favorite season of any of those shows ever, like any of those Netflix shows, was Daredevil season 2. That was my favorite season of any of those shows. Then it goes Luke Cage 1 or 2. I honestly don't know. And then third, Luke Cage 1 or 2.
Luke Cage is just so entertaining every episode.
It is. But let me tell you about Daredevil season 2. I couldn't tell you what happens in the second half of that season, but that first half of that first season, that first half of that second season to me is like, it's so much gold and so much like it's stuff literally like straight from the comic books, like brought to life. Like there's a scene where you probably know the scene I'm talking. I mean, you definitely, but you probably know even the comic panel I'm talking about, where Punisher is up on the roof and he's about to take out a guy, and he literally hands in the comic panel Daredevil a gun while he's chained up and tells him, if you don't want me to kill this guy, then you'll kill me. So that's like straight out of the comics. And honestly, I think it was even done better in the TV show because there was more like weight and gravitas, because in the comics, it was when the Punisher and Daredevil, they knew each other, I think, at that point, like for a while. So it wasn't just like a thing. It was more of just like Daredevil trying to appeal to what humanity he thought the Punisher had left. In this, the Punisher still does have like a little bit of humanity left. So he's really trying hard to appeal to it, and it feels like he's reaching him. Even though you get what you get in the end, you do feel like Daredevil knows how to reach the Punisher in the TV show, especially like compared to the comics, especially. Even though they're kind of cool in the comics, you know what I mean? They don't have like any like, they're obviously totally different people, but they, you know, their mission is kind of it's a duality, but they go down different paths to reach the same place. Obviously, they're both vigilantes.
Punisher, Daredevil, and Moon Knight are all very similar, right? Like they're all the vengeance punishment characters.
Well, I would say I don't know. I would say Moon Knight is closer to the Punisher because,
So
well,
there's a line in the first episode of the new season where he says he's talking about Bullseye in the courtroom. He's at the witness stand, I believe,
mhm.
and it says that this man's punishment will be this small. I forgot what he said. Like it's like the punishment's not enough, but this punishment is the closest we will get to justice, the closest we will ever get to justice, and just that's what I think Daredevil is. He's just like making sure people get punished for these things. He doesn't think he can stop it all, but someone's got to punish.
He doesn't. He doesn't really. I mean, yeah. You know what? You're kind of right. You know what's that's kind of funny because Daredevil makes sure people get punished, but Punisher makes sure people get justice. You know what I mean? It's almost like the flip angle of that because Daredevil
Punisher is doling out justice, if that's what you think, to everybody.
Well, if that's what the Punisher thinks justice is, and Daredevil doesn't necessarily think that he's doing justice, he thinks that he's bringing people to be tried for justice. So, like you said, he's punishing people that are doing wrong and bringing them to justice, but he's not bringing justice to them, which is what the Punisher does. He does vengeance, so he brings justice to them. You know what I mean? It's like judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, that's what he screams in Marvel Rivals.
Is that really what he screams?
When he uses his ultimate, he yells, "Judge, jury, executioner."
That's pretty sappy, but that's pretty accurate.
You should play it.
I know. You keep telling me. I downloaded it. If that means anything to you, I downloaded it.
You should hop on right now while we do this. I'm gonna focus on this. I'm just gonna listen to you play it.
No, I'm not gonna. I played it once and it was all right. I played as Doctor Strange, Venom, and there was one other person. I did play as Moon Knight. I didn't. Who did I like the most? I think I liked Moon Knight the most. Like, and not even just like as a character, but just playing as him. Yeah. Because I liked. I think you can like throw the batarangs like real quick, and I was able to do that. I also liked Wolverine, but I thought Wolverine would be more powerful. But like you gotta use like Berserker, right? Like, yeah, I was gonna say that's what I like about him is like the Berserker modes or whatever. I think that you can go into like a Berserker mode in that, but
yeah,
like shit like that. Like it reminds me of Kylo Ren in Star Wars Battlefront 2, where if you kind of use him right, he becomes like one of the best players on the battlefield. But I wasn't using him right. I kept dying as Wolverine, which is kind of funny actually, if you think about it. All right, let me ask you something then, Rada. What is your favorite Marvel movie of all time that you've ever seen?
It's a hard one.
What's your favorite goofy Marvel movie, like one that you like ironically, and then what's your favorite movie that you really, really, really love?
All right, my favorite funny one is Thor Ragnarok. That was just.
I didn't mean goofy as in like funny. I meant like goofy as in like it's a terrible movie, but you still like it because it's funny to watch. I wouldn't say Thor Ragnarok fits that bill just because I think it's a genuinely good movie. But I will also say
watch any of the bad ones, so I don't really like to watch them.
Oh, I'm not even just saying like MCU. I'm saying Marvel in general. Like going back to like even the 1940s. Like you've got a lot of movies you can choose from. They made a lot of bad ones.
Definitely, the original Fantastic Four movies. They're not that bad. Just like they're still
the original. You mean the second iteration?
Not the whole. Yeah, not the old one.
Yeah, you
With
mean
Jessica
I think
Alba.
Tim Story. Yeah, Jessica Alba. Those are good. I like those movies too. I'm gonna go out on a
So
limb and say that my favorite Goofy movie. That sounds funny. Extreme Goofy movie. But my favorite Goofy Marvel movie is Howard the Duck.
okay.
Yep. I'll pause for applause.
I liked the first Venom movie. I thought that was stupid.
Like yeah, I liked it too.
It was charming.
I thought I liked the first Venom movie like I liked The Force Awakens, if that makes sense.
What?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
So I thought that the first Venom movie wasn't a great movie, but it had a lot of potential towards building a future in that franchise and with that character. And then I thought that the next couple movies just completely destroyed that hope, so to speak. So that to me is like The Force Awakens because like I had a lot of hope for that first movie, and then the next two movies just completely destroyed that hope for me. Completely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I actually thought Force Awakens was a pretty good movie,
That's what I'm
but it
saying
was
though.
just
That's what I mean.
it was pretty good. No, I didn't think it was bad. I think it was pretty good.
I think it was lessened by the next two movies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what I think happened to Venom too. I think it's a great movie, or it's a good movie. I'm not going to say great because I don't necessarily think that, but I think there was so much potential in that first Venom movie, especially like with the idea of Carnage. Like, dude, I used to have a Carnage action figure when I was a little kid, like in elementary school. When I barely even knew who Carnage was, I had an action figure of him. I had Ghost Rider. I had a
Hey, it's cool.
Superman action figure. Yeah, dude. Carnage is sick. But and Woody Harrelson is a pretty cool actor to play Carnage. But what they did with him is just awful. Also, I think the guy who played Rorschach in The Watchmen would have made a perfect perfect Carnage. Like when I say perfect, I mean he looks the part. He could sound psychotic. He could play psychotic well.
Well, those guys are also pretty old by now. I think that
Well, I know we missed the boat.
it's an easy pick, but you know the guy that was the Joker, the fake Joker in the Gotham TV show?
Cal Kestis.
Is that him?
That's
Yeah,
him. Yeah,
yes.
he's from
He would be
Shameless.
a great Carnage.
He would be a great Carnage. You're right. He would be a great Carnage to Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And you know what's funny is I never thought about that, like not once. I always thought like he would be a good Joker, but not like a. Never thought Carnage once, but you literally nailed it.
I'm
If
pretty good
Will,
with casting people.
you are. If Will Poulter wasn't Adam Warlock already, I would also say he'd make a good Carnage too. He would just need to be a little more ginger.
Will Poulter as Eddie Brock, as a blonde.
I think that might work, but I think you still need somebody who's a little more like. I
Yeah,
think Will Poulter's like an Eddie
I
Brock,
was reading.
like Topher Grace is like an Eddie Brock. You know what I mean? He's a little too close to being like Peter Parker. I think you need Eddie Brock needs to be like this, like imposing, like dude, like down on his luck type guy who like kind of like what Tom Hardy's Venom was or Eddie Brock was, but like a little younger and more of like more of like a freewheel.
Who's that guy? This is guy who's like in a few movies right now. I'm not sure what he was originally from. He's blowing up, and wait, I gotta find this guy's name. Keep talking while I look for this.
Yeah, but I don't know who I think would make a good Venom though in like the MCU if it's not gonna be Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy honestly could just skip over to the MCU and it would be fine, like he did already. Spoiler alert. It's not really a spoiler because nothing really happens. It's kind of it's in there to just make a lot of nerds bug out and then just take it and shatter it right in front of them a year or two
I
or
got
three
you. I
later.
got you. Glenn Powell as Venom.
Glenn Powell as Venom. He could work.
He has a name like a politician. Yeah, that's because
Yeah, he
Colin
does. Colin Powell.
Colin Powell.
Colin Powell. As the world burns. Just wanted to give everybody a heads up too. This is our very special Marvel movie Culture Burns episode. But yeah, I think he could work as Eddie Brock. Who's the guy that's playing
He's like
the
just
Sentry?
He's old enough to be like older than Peter Parker, but also young enough to be not old like the other options.
Yeah, kind of like what do you call it? A Jake Gyllenhaal kind of vibe. Like him as Mysterio was kind of like that. Like he was kind of like a peer to Peter, even though he was older.
Man, Jake Gyllenhaal is great. I really hope Mysterio does come back somehow. Like I almost hate that he was just Mysterio. I wish he was somebody else.
Dude, you know what's funny is I was looking forward to that movie like most of my life because Mysterio has like been my favorite Marvel villain like growing up. Like always my favorite Spider-Man villain, but like one of my favorite villains as a kid, if not my favorite villain. And it was mostly because of that Spider-Man 2 game where you fight him. It's amazing.
So great. So great.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And you fight the Rhino in downtown like right before that. Oh my god. The Rhino is also one of my favorites.
In the arena, right?
Yeah, well it's in like a theater. Well, yeah, it is kind of an arena. It's like you like have to like go to like different like platforms and stuff like that. It was literally like one of the toughest things ever.
That game is
It was amazing, dude. Amazing. So amazing. Like not even like I love the new Spider-Man games, but like they don't even compare to how good those originals were. Like, you know, fighting the Rhino, oh my god. It was so amazing that first time where you're just like dodging him and it feels very real too. It felt all very real, like all the boss fights. And the first game too, when you fight the Shocker, I loved the Shocker too as a kid. He was one of my favorite villains. Which it's weird. All my favorite villains as a kid were all Spider-Man villains. That's kind of funny.
Well, that's how like Batman kind of takes up a lot of the villain roles. Well, his gallery takes up a lot of the villain roles of the whole DC universe.
Well, you know what? It's because those two heroes have like just like the most diverse villains of all time. Like I love like some Batman villains are actually some of my favorite villains in DC too. So maybe I'm just a fan of like the really basic villains, but I wouldn't even say that because I like Mad Hatter, I like Scarecrow, I like
there's
I like a lot of the psychological
villains that are great that like you'll forget about them for a while.
The Court of Owls are amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, I even like the Penguin because he like in a goofy way, like I like Howard the Duck. I like the Penguin. But yeah, there's just so many like and I mean like the old school Penguin, like like that kind of Penguin. He's just like so funny. Like he's such a you know what I liked how the Batman Arkham games did the Penguin because it to me it was like a perfect mixture of the new and the old Penguin. You know what I mean? Like that really hokey Penguin from the old days mixed in with that like hardcore, like gritty, grungy, like post Danny DeVito Penguin.
I never played the Arkham games. Actually, that's a lie. I played Arkham Knight, and that's the only one.
Dude, that's the worst one in my opinion.
I know.
Dude, you have to play Arkham City. It's not even like a thing. Like you next video game, that should be what you start. Like you should just play the story for Arkham City. It's that good.
My next video game is Elden Ring Night Rain.
Okay, but after that, you have to play Arkham City. And like I said, I'm a Marvel fan. I love Marvel. They haven't made that many good games other than the Spider-Man in the last few years. And the Lego games. I played the Lego superheroes game and that was good. But Batman Arkham City is next level. Oh, the Guardians of the Galaxy game was good though. I shouldn't say anything bad about that game. It was a really, really good game.
Marvel rival.
But other than that, I haven't played Marvel
Dude,
Rivals much, but
it's
everyone
the
says
best
it's
game in the
good.
world right now.
Okay, well, if that's the truth, then Marvel Rivals and Guardians of the Galaxy and Lego Marvel are the only good Marvel games in the last 10 to 15 years, and that's saying a lot. Oh, and Spider-Man. Whatever. I don't have a PlayStation 5 though to play the sequel, so I can't do that.
Yeah, Spider-Man,
But
Spider-Man was pretty good. The new one.
the Spider-Man, yeah, I want to play it, but I don't want to buy a PlayStation 5 just to be able to buy you know, a just to be able to buy Spider-Man 2.
No.
You know what I mean? That's what I did. That's what I bought a PlayStation 4 because when PlayStation 5 was just about to come out because I wanted to play the Spider-Man game and Bloodborne. And that's all that I pretty much got for that system. Other than GTA 5 and Red Dead 2. Just cuz I wanted some extra and Battlefront 2. Those are like my rotations, like my mainstays.
Have you seen the trailer for the new Black Panther Captain America game?
No, there's a Black Panther Captain America. It's are you sure it's not an Invaders game? It doesn't take place during World War II.
It does.
That it's probably Invaders then.
Oh, check it out.
That's crazy,
Check it
dude.
out.
Does it have Namor in it?
It doesn't show up, but I can imagine him showing up. But look up the game.
All right, I'll look up the trailer for it. There we go. But yeah, another thing, 1943. That's cool. Rise of Hydra. This is definitely gonna be a Marvel Invaders game, which is crazy.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, Ultimate Alliance, dude.
Well, yeah, the original Ultimate Alliance and the first and second one were amazing.
Yeah. Also, Marvel vs. Capcom.
But that again, that was like yes, but
Come
those
on,
weren't like
man.
last 10 to 15 years games. That I'm saying like they haven't done a good like new game in the last 10 to 15
Yeah.
years. And it's looking like they're changing.
X-Men, not X-Men, Wolverine Origins, or what was the Wolverine game called?
That was Wolverine Origins, but that was almost 20 years ago too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like more like 15, but still. It's crazy to think 2010 was 15 years ago.
I also liked the Hulk game.
Ultimate Destruction?
No, the one that was for the original movie that came out in like early 2000s.
The Ang Lee one?
Yes,
I never played that. I only played the Ultimate Destruction one.
dude, that game was pretty fun.
You're not talking about the one where you fight Abomination, right?
I don't think so. I don't know if I ever got far enough in that game. I was pretty young.
I mean, he shows up right at the beginning, Emil Blonsky.
This one, I think the first boss you fight in this game was some electricity villain.
Oh, that was most definitely the Ang Lee one then.
Yeah.
Not the Ultimate Destruction one.
Now, I know for a fact it was based on the Ang Lee movie.
Yeah. Well, Ultimate Destruction came out, I think, after the Ang Lee movie, but before the other one. It's basically like their version of like the Spider-Man game, like Spider-Man 2, because you can like go around the city and like destroy buildings and stuff like that and blow shit up. It's fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
this game looks crazy.
You know what would be really fun? Is a Static Shock
A Static Shock like movie?
game.
Game? Oh, well, they've been talking about a movie for a while. A game would be amazing though.
So, you know Infamous?
Yeah.
By the time I tried out Infamous, I wasn't too impressed by it. But what I am impressed by is the high speed physics
The physics are awesome.
of, well, I'm thinking of the Spider-Man games, like early, like fucking the 2000, what was it, like 2006 or something, when the Spider-Man 2 game came out, and like the swinging in that is the funnest ever. It's so good. We all remember it still.
Oh yeah.
Something like that, or like also, you know what else has a fun open world, fun to traverse feel to it? So much so that like that's the whole point of it. Are the skate, or even the Tony Hawk games, maybe stuff like that, where you're just kind of riding around, having a good time. Static Shock usually has that like cool platform, and I think it's like a sewer cap that he just flies around on.
Is.
And you could fly around. You could use your static abilities to like cling to other buildings, so you could pull yourself almost like a web sling. But then you could pull yourself to the side of a building and then fly up or ride on it like a board.
So it'd be like a mixture of like a Tony Hawk game and a Spider-Man game.
It'd be like that. Maybe even like, I don't know, man. There's that game that
That'd be awesome, honestly.
I mean, yeah, it'd be more like hoverboarding, but still,
No, I get it.
because it's also crime fighting, throwing crime fighting as well.
Yeah, and you'd be using like all the stuff like as static.
Yeah, could have like the stealth portions of the game too, where you're just like fighting.
You'd really you'd have to really nail. It's you'd have to nail down what Static's abilities are. Like Spider-Man has so many years of comics to get a perfect picture of what his abilities are. Static Shock does too, but he has
I mean, it's you can figure it out easy enough.
yeah. I think a few really good moves would really would do a lot. I think you're right though. That game would be awesome.
I think like pulling weapons from hands is obvious, and the high you can increase that skill so that you could pull more weapons at a time to the point where you run up to a mob and you just pull all their weapons out of their hands and kick their ass.
You know what they gotta get right though before they get a Static Shock game? They gotta get a Superman game right.
Now you're right.
We need a really good Superman game, and you know what? It's one of the easiest things to do, but they haven't done it.
You know what I think? That we're not going to get a good Superman game until we get a video game that is a replica of the Earth, and you can traverse the whole Earth. And it doesn't have to be super detailed, but it has to be enough so that you can play as Superman and fly around the world.
10 years ago, I read something on the internet, and it was it was very interesting. It was from the Rockstar game developers. It was when I kind of was just reading news all the time, kind of like now. But it said in the article that the Rockstar game developer said that he had the capability to simulate the entire world if they wanted to. They're just limited by the state of their technology. Almost like that quote from Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
That Tony Stark's dad says. And I always thought that was pretty interesting. And if they had that capability back then, they probably almost have the technology to do that now on a basic level at least.
You could have a Superman game and the DLC is a Flash game. It's a whole new character you're playing with Flash.
Could make America smaller because Metropolis and Gotham could be close together. You could be you could fly to Central City, and they could just make portal jumps. You ever play Destroy Humans?
Yeah.
So in that, you don't just you can fly around the world, but you don't just you don't just fly around the world. You portal jump basically. You hop to a certain point, and then it shows you just taking off into space and then going to that spot.
Dude, we can totally get a game that has a scan. Think about all the satellites out there. They're scanning the Earth. They have a full model of all the buildings and everything, the landscapes. They can make a game that just has a nice, cheap copy of the whole world. Doesn't even have to be detailed. Just enough.
They already do, though.
That's what I'm saying.
They already have that game, though. It's called Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Does it could you fly over your own city and see it?
Yes.
That's cool, and that's where you need to start with a Superman game.
You can theoretically fly into your house if you wanted to.
That's probably that and are probably the most common things in that game.
You're 100% right. There's people that literally will set up and just fly planes for hours on stream, and that'll just be what they do, and just rack up thousands of watchers just watching them fly just aimlessly.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
But imagine just flying around as Superman.
I think that theoretically the portal jump thing is the closest that we're probably gonna get to that right now. And I think if they ever did a
if you agree with me that there's a game where you could fly across the whole world and you could just go, why can't we have Superman flying across the whole world, just flying around it over and over again?
Well, I think it would be a very bare bones game though, and you would just be Superman flying across the world. I think they even have this game that just came out recently. That's an indie game where you fly place to place, like you're saying, as Superman, or it's in a city.
Yeah, it's
I could be totally mistaken.
I think it was free on PlayStation. You're a guy in jeans and a black T-shirt.
Exactly. They say that's the closest thing to a Superman game that we're gonna get right now.
It's alright, but I think we could do way better, honestly. Because have you ever played No Man's Sky?
Yeah, I played that.
This is the only type of game that I've experience with. But flying in your ship, going up in into like different levels of the atmosphere of the planet that you're on or leaving, being in orbit, being in space, seeing the other planets from the different angles they would be, and like they're moving, and you can just aim at a different galaxy. You can aim at a star you see way in the distance, and just put it on autopilot and just go.
I think that's an amazing idea, but I think that that's an idea that it's just ahead of its time.
It exists. So
It does, but I don't think that we're gonna get like an Earth like game like that with like other like planets. Like you can go to Mars and see Martian Manhunter.
why not?
I don't think we're gonna get that. I mean, thinking realistically, I mean, I think it's
I
possible.
just
I think it
described how
would
it
just
exists
take a
already.
long time.
It's already possible.
It is, but I don't think that they're gonna put a. That would take a lot of, I feel like, time and resources, and I don't think Warner Brothers wants to churn out a game like that. They want to churn out something that's gonna be like, they've been talking a lot about how they like the free to play model. So like they want to follow that,
Yeah,
even
I
though
heard
they
it.
also
I think it
said
was
that
James Gunn that said he wants to make a game like Marvel Rivals with DC.
I mean, I'm sure,
I
but
think there should just
I'm
be a
even
new
saying like
DC
before
fighting.
this,
We need a new one.
yeah, well, we need like another Injustice. That was great. We
But
should
not
have like an
Injustice.
Injustice, but like,
People know Injustice.
yeah, like,
We need something else.
yeah, but something like it.
I was thinking more like like Marvel versus Capcom, but it's all just DC characters. Because there's so
It's
many
all just
characters.
yeah, that's just like Injustice, though. You just would have to do like another version of that, but with like different skins and like classic characters and stuff.
They feel very different. Those games.
They do, but
And
there's
there's like a
still like
tone
that.
thing with Injustice too. It's very dark.
It is, but at the end of the day, they're all like fighting games. Like you can say that like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Marvel vs. Capcom are all very different games, but they're all very similar.
They're all fighting games. They're all
Exactly.
side to side fighting games, but there's so many fighting games that they're like when you're in the fighting
Yeah.
world, just because they're both fighting.
Multiverses is like
So
that, but it's
that's what
not.
like Multiverses was pretty cool, but then we kept getting like tons of characters that you just don't care about, like tons that you don't care about, and they're goofy and fun, but there's so many other games I want to play. I don't know. I just couldn't
Oh
commit
yeah,
to
100%.
Multiverses, and it crashed.
Did it? You can't play it
I
anymore?
think they're closing. They're gonna finish development. Yeah.
See, that's the problem I have too with like games that like you can't like play like story mode on or just story mode on. Like I love Battlefield 3. It was one of my favorite games of all time. It's a game that if I could, I would go back and play that literally like every day all day now. But every time if I go on, last nobody on a single server. There was maybe like one or two people on one server
Sad.
and that was it. It is. And that was literally like I think it came out in 2011. So like throughout high school, I got Xbox Live because I wanted to play that game on Xbox Live. Because I went over my buddy's house and he had it on live and I played it with him and I thought it was the coolest game ever.
Dude, that's funny you say that. I think we've talked about this before, but the game that I got Xbox Live to play, well, I got this game because it looked cool, and I was just buying a bunch of games because I got an Xbox, but I didn't pay for Xbox Live
Mhm.
yet. And when I wanted to play this game online, that's when I first got Live. And it was Battlefield Bad Company.
Oh, I love that game too. Battlefield Bad Company was awesome, dude. And the sequel was good, but the first one where you could like I didn't even play that online. I just played like the story mode and the story mode was
It
amazing.
was amazing.
And what's funny is I guess bring it to like the conspiracy part of this podcast for just a second. I read a news article yesterday, the day before yesterday. In 2003, there was like a truckload of gold that the U.S. soldiers found that they like commandeered in Iraq. And I'm pretty sure, if you remember the Bad Company story, I'm pretty sure that's where that story like comes from. Was that real life story of that truck of gold that they found.
Did gold go missing?
I don't know. It literally like shows the U.S. soldiers in the back of the truck like holding up the gold and like posing in pictures. It's hilarious.
What's another idea for a Marvel video game?
Um,
I always thought Ghost Rider, riding the motorcycle up buildings, flying off of them, going crazy, high speed action.
did you ever play the Ghost Rider game?
No,
So that was a pretty fun game, and it's got some of the vibe that you're talking about, but it's mainly like you're like driving through hell and stuff like that. It's like kind of like a racing hell game, but like but mixed with God of War. My ideal video game would be like an ideal Marvel video game would probably be like and we might get this in the future now that I think about it, but like one of the things that I think I would love would be like a potential like Battle World or Secret Wars
that would be
story.
sick.
Like
Well, Battle World is
yeah,
like
done
the
up.
great concept for something like Marvel Rivals. It's crazy that they're not doing Battle World.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not doing Battle World either. Especially you could have like Zombie World, you could have like a medieval world.
So
Like
maybe,
there's so many possibilities.
maybe you could do another fighting game with the concept of Battle World.
They could do that. Honestly, it would be cool. Exiles video game. That would be like my ideal Marvel game, and I've wanted that like since I read the Exiles comics like 10 years ago. I love the idea of Exiles.
What's so cool about that?
So the Exiles are a group of X-Men that get plucked out of like different timelines and are forced to basically become a team of like exiled mutants that help make sure different timelines get corrected.
They're like the Legends of Tomorrow.
Sort of, exactly. This was like a '90s comic back in like the day. They would literally just skip around. They would go and help out. They actually would go to like different storylines. I think that were in the What If comics, and they would basically like recorrect the timelines. Like there was one of the first ones that they dealt with. One of my favorite comic runs, and it has to do with it's Emperor Doom, but it's Tony Stark as Doctor Doom. So Tony Stark took over the entire planet and is basically like forcing an iron will on like the people and like a dictatorship. It's pretty cool.
That's definitely what they're gonna do in the MCU. Huh?
Yeah, probably something like that for Doomsday, and then he like goes to like a different reality.
What would you do for a new Marvel TV show?
Honestly, I'd probably do like I'm talking about with like the Exiles comic, but I think they're already doing that. So for one that isn't being done, I would probably say a Midnight Suns TV show would be amazing. Or that one might get done too. You want me to just go crazy with it and just like name something that would just be like totally out of left field?
Well, I need more, less just like characters that you like, but more of like a concept for like a real pitch for a show. Not just any show. Like describe the show. What kind of show? A cartoon,
Or
anime, a movie.
and I always thought that in my head the best storyline that I thought would ever be like in like the movies like that I would love would be like a complete Darkhold storyline with like the spirits of vengeance and stuff like that.
Well, we might go back to the Darkhold, huh?
I think that yeah, I think we will, and I think that would be an awesome story. I think though that we should have a Midnight Suns team with Doctor Strange, Michael Morbius, even and other characters. I think they
Think
fudged
we're gonna
that
get
when Sony
Morbius
decided
involved?
to make the movie. No, I'm saying I wish we did, but because Sony made that movie, I don't think we're gonna get Morbius in Midnight Suns. Which I think what would be cool too is a potential armor movie, which is a multiverse defense organization in the comics, and they would travel to like eradicate like the zombie virus in the comics. I think that would be like a cool storyline to pursue in like an anime or a like a continuation of the Marvel Zombies TV show. That would be my idea, actually, would be just to do like from the Marvel Zombie show and the What If show to establish an armor show.
Yeah.
Or like to establish armor as like an organization within the multiverse. Kind of like the TVA, but like dealing with like really existential threats. Like the TVA deals with like individuals that are threats. Armor would deal with like entities and like crazy like Alioth type stuff. You know what I mean? Like stuff that's like really hard to control on like a a small scale, like mystical stuff. Like they could go to a reality where Dormammu just destroyed everything. You know what I mean? They could go to a reality where the zombie virus is about to wipe out everything and they're the only ones to stop it. They could go to a reality where World War II kept going and now you have like an old Captain America fighting with the invaders against like a dictator Red Skull who took over the planet and they have to you could basically take armor and you could combine the exiles idea into that and it could just be like an organization that like sends out multiverse heroes into different deadly and death defying scenarios and you could like make it Suicide Squad even where like most of these heroes end up dying but then maybe they get replaced by like another variant of like the same exact hero that's just slightly different. That would be my idea.
I like it.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah. Honestly, you asked me what my idea for a video game earlier would be. I would remake the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games or reboot them. Not even remake, but like just make a totally new version of it. But like keep that same basic core idea of like playing as like any hero you want. And keep that basic core idea of like a really crazy story that expands like the whole world and like gives like different characters godlike powers and stuff. You know what I mean? I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Like what I always loved was the fact that like you could play all the characters, but also the fact that you were playing against like a god like Doctor Doom who like controlled the Odin Force in like the second one. That was my favorite. It was the second one personally. That was the one I remember the most too. But I always loved that one. And I loved at the end where you see like the different scenarios that would have happened had you done things differently and what you did do that led to what's going to happen in the future. So like if you did like certain things that led to like the Mutant Registration Act or if you did other things that led to Jean Grey coming back as the Dark Phoenix and wiping out most of the X-Men. I always thought that was pretty like a really good idea.
I got another question for you. What two characters, what two heroes, or even villains, maybe like anti-heroes or whatever. Which two
Yep.
could you swap roles? Like the characters like take on each other's mantles, and nothing changes. Like which two characters could just swap? Their lives would be fun.
Do you mean within universe or you could do it potentially out of universe? Like, does this have to be Marvel?
Marvel.
Like, all right. Two characters that I could swap out their characters pretty much entirely and not much would change.
They could just like forever stay as that other hero's name, and they're like, "Yeah, I think this is better. I'm glad we traded."
Well, it's not necessarily in that instance, but you could swap out the character. I mean, not you know,
But stalling.
this is no, I'm not stalling. I have an answer for you.
Stay it.
The problem is I'm not sure if it's the right answer. So I'm gonna go with another answer. I think the answer that I have might be a little
Just
controversial,
say
so I'm
it.
gonna go with another one. No, I'm not. I'm gonna say you could swap out Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch and
Danny
you would have
Ketch.
almost no repercussions at all. Danny
Yeah.
Ketch, he's the second mantle of Ghost
So
Rider.
all right, I should preface this with that's the same mantle.
Oh well, that's the same character you're
Not the same
saying. All
character, but
right,
we're talking
so
about two characters swapping and taking on each other's mantles. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's
I know
just
what you're
like
saying.
both Ghost Riders being like, "Hey, can I borrow your car? While and I'll use your you can use my motorcycle."
All right, well, if I could go outside of Marvel for a second,
No,
I would
no,
say,
no. That's not the
well,
question.
hey, while still being in Marvel, go outside of Marvel for a
Make
second.
this make sense.
I would say you could swap out Deadpool and Deathstroke.
Obvious.
I
Well,
would say
not.
that,
I mean,
yeah, yes. I would say that you could swap
you're
out
kind of right,
Man Thing and Swamp Thing.
but
I would say that you
but
could
you're
swap
not.
out.
This is not what the question is. I knew it would be easy
No,
because
I know,
there's
I
so many
know.
parallels.
No, I get that. I totally get that. I'm just saying that that's easy, but what you asked me is pretty tough. Hey, Machine Man and the Vision. There you go.
You know what you could have said? You know what you could have said? Loki and Deadpool.
No,
No?
no,
Just no.
totally
Just
no,
flat out no.
no. Not. I'm not even gonna say incorrect. I'm just gonna say no
Why?
because Loki is a backstabbing asshole. Deadpool is an asshole with a heart of gold.
Listen, they don't have to be the same kind of person.
Deadpool talks to himself and breaks the fourth wall and knows that he's a comic book character. Loki thinks that he wants to rule Asgard and is a god and thinks that by ruling Earth, he'll eventually rule Asgard. So he constantly tries to rule Earth.
Well, maybe I'm thinking more like less evil Loki.
They're
Maybe more in
they,
MCU inspired Loki.
no, no, they're not. They're not alike. I'm telling you.
They're not.
Even
They're both the two greatest tricksters of the Marvel universe.
but if we're talking to like the comics, like we said though, like that's going into the movies though. The movie characters are totally different than the comic characters. Like Captain America in the comics is boring.
Fair, but don't they allow the movie characters to influence the comics because they're so successful?
They've kind of influenced them the last like 10 years, but that's it. They don't like influence them a lot. It's more of so the comics more so influence the movies. Even now, all the movies that are happening now, like Brave New World, a lot of this stuff is like Marvel now, which happened in 2015, 2016. Like I remember reading a lot of these comics when they came out, like Captain America being the Falcon or vice versa. It was, this is all just stuff. I don't know why Kevin Feige thinks that people want to see Marvel now because it wasn't even that interesting when it came out. The most interesting thing was right before Marvel Now when we had Jonathan Hickman's end of the Marvel Universe run, whatever that was called, the Secret Wars run. That was the most interesting thing to have happened out of Marvel in the last 20 years, even. Well, besides maybe Civil War, but I'm biased towards that. A lot of people don't like Civil War. I love Civil War. That was one of the first comics I really devoured.
Can I give you another example?
Well, the Vision and Machine Man, that's an example from the comics. You could swap them out and that would be fine.
I don't know Machine Man. I'm just not getting the reference. I don't know
Or
Marvel.
Joe
I'm sorry.
Casta. Joe Casta and Machine Man. Well, Machine Man is he's a machine man.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, and Vision is a machine man also.
Yeah, but so I'm also trying to get at that like they would be taking on each other's like rogues gallery or whatever, and like the problems that they have, but also like they don't have to have the same powers. You know what I mean?
I don't think any character really could take on a separate character's rogues gallery like that in Marvel only
All right.
because
Listen,
like
listen,
I
listen.
feel
For example, because
well, I feel like the characters are
this
so
will make
to
it much
them.
easier for you to understand. You know the Fantastic Four?
Okay.
You know how
Yes.
sometimes the Fantastic Four has people stand in for their members? It's
Yes.
like that, where it's like completely different power set, but same role that they're taking on, and they were like, yeah, like
Yeah, but
except we're
it's
talking
hard
about
to
also
do
taking
that
on the
as an
mantle.
individual. All right. Yeah, but characters have already done that where they have taken on the mantle of other
Like who?
characters, and that's basically the
Like
same
who?
thing. Well, one Danny Ketch, like I said, but
Danny
also
Ketch
what's
wasn't a
his face?
superhero that took over. I'm talking about one superhero being like, I'm actually going to be you now, and I'm gonna I'm gonna take
He
over your
did.
problems.
He took Rider's entire
But
character.
then,
He
did Ghost
became
Rider
Ghost
take
Rider.
over Danny Ketch's character of being a guy who drives a car?
Sort of.
Do you see what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, but it's sort of that's sort of what
I'll give you another
happened.
example. I'll give you an example of something
Danny
I think
Ketch
would be
became Ghost
possible.
Rider though, and then Johnny Blaze became just this gun-toting like trench coat wearing dude that just would help out the Midnight Suns. And Danny Ketch.
Like, just try to think of like just two like imagine if
I'm giving you characters.
one role that's really good to do is Captain America, right?
Miles Morales and Peter Parker is what the first thing that I was gonna say originally that I didn't want to say.
No, that's because that's the exact same thing with Danny Kesh or whatever his name is in Ghost Rider.
Yeah, but they got their powers
Listen to
differently.
me.
Sort
Listen to
of.
me. Falcon's thing was that he's a guy who's like an expert at flight. He has his cool flying wings. That technology allows that. That's his thing. He takes on the mantle of Captain America and he keeps his thing. Like he's still the guy who flies around. It's totally different. But he's also like, no, but I'm all about Captain America and like I'm the leader of the Avengers and like that's like he's taking on that mantle. The person that he's swapping with, which is Captain America would then have to take on the Falcon's role as the Falcon, which I don't think he would be able to do. I mean, he probably could. That's actually probably a good example. Captain America could, he wouldn't, but if he had to in the scenario, he totally could
Yeah, he could do that.
and pull it off totally fine.
I 100% agree with you.
Do
All
you now
right.
see what I'm saying?
Yes, I see what you're saying. And Winter Soldier and Captain America. That's another
These
one.
are too easy though. Let's like branch out a little bit.
Okay, but if I just got it, if I figured it out, give me some easy. Let me give you some easy ones first, and
Okay,
then I'll
I'll
branch
let
out.
you get your exercise
All
in.
right. Let's see. Uh, uh, the Thing and Smart Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But now try
let's
to like think
see.
less about similar powers and more about just like could this character take on
Well, hold on,
that
hold on.
character's life and
Let
just
me
like
work. Let me up to it. I'm working up to it. Um,
because like once you think outside the box, you'll see what I'm saying. Like
Professor X and Jean Grey, and I'm saying that in both ways.
yeah, she could take on being the leader of the X-Men and he could
Exactly.
take on being
Um,
the fucking host of the Dark Phoenix. He could keep it at bay.
I think he has, to be honest with you. I think there's probably a comic where he has become the
Cool.
Dark
All
Phoenix,
right, let
and
me
he
give
like,
you one now.
you
Let
know,
me give you one.
he was able to walk
I'll give you like an example of one that probably wouldn't work, right?
in Marvel.
Yeah, so like Wolverine taking on the role of Captain America and Captain America taking on the role of the Wolverine.
I would love to see that, but
Actually, that
yeah,
doesn't
that would not
that's
work.
I mean, the X-Men are kind of hard because the X-Men like that hero part of them is like their identity. Whereas like
Yeah, they're better with each other.
it's more like it might be easier with
All right.
DC characters.
Well, I think it's easier to make parallels between Marvel and DC, if anything.
Well, absolutely, because
But
there's
let me
plenty of
let
copies.
let me keep trying to do some. Um, like Marvel to Marvel.
Like Black Widow
I would.
and
All right.
and
I would
the
say
Wasp.
potentially. All right. Yeah, I could see Black Widow and the Wasp swapping. I could
Well,
see
hold on. At the same
potentially.
time, would the Wasp be able to handle the type of espionage that Natasha does?
You know what I'm saying?
Well, if we're going to what it was in, like, say the Marvel movies, uh, at one point in What If, she does go work for Shield, and then she gets killed working for Shield, and that leads Hank Pym to go crazy and murder all the Avengers during Fury's big week. So potentially a different iteration or an iteration of the Wasp, or even maybe the comic iteration of the Wasp, could do the espionage.
Black Wasp.
If we're also talking about the Wasp from, like, say, like Janet Van Dyne's Wasp, and not Hope Van Dyne, which the original Wasp is Janet Van Dyne, and most Wasps, like, iterations, is Janet Van Dyne. She was like a spy in World War II in the movies, and in the
You got, hey,
comics,
I already like it then. We figured one out. That's really good.
you know,
There you go.
that was a good one. I'm gonna throw a wild one, and I'm not sure if it entirely works. I think it works one way, most definitely, but I'm not entirely sure it works the other way. But I think after some control, I think it would work. Jean Grey and Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman. I think it would totally be easy for Jean Grey to get, invisible powers and force field powers. I
I
think it would take some
like that.
learning for Sue
I like
Storm
it.
too. I think, right? I think it
It's
works. I
also
think it
it's
would take
also a
Sue.
Fantastic Four, so we know they kind of need the help sometimes.
Yeah,
I like.
and you know, Jean Grey does force fields and stuff like that too. It's just mental force fields instead of like
Yeah,
physical
she could
ones.
even just make other people think that she's not there.
Yeah, it literally.
I really like that
But
idea. Okay, that was
yeah.
because then also Susan Storm could just like help out the X-Men. She doesn't have to have psychic abilities. She could just still use her powers
Oh yeah,
on the X-Men team.
100%. And for a bonus, very easy one, I'm gonna go Emma Frost and Jean Grey.
Too easy. I won't give it to you.
Too easy, but
Won't give it to you
I'm
too
still
easy.
throwing it out
Now, I was
there.
gonna say another example of how some characters won't work is like Spider-Man. Obviously, it's too ingrained in his character that he's a spider person. Unless you can think of another character who has spider-like abilities that isn't within the spider family, that could take over the role of Spider-Man.
I mean, there's technically no such thing as a spider family, but I see what you mean.
You know what? I don't know, man.
I get it. I I mean, I thought that even the comic books kind of have this vibe too, but the original Spider-Man and the Kamala Khan comic books and the movie and the TV show, I think you could kind of swap out their characters kind of.
So
And
Spider-Man could become Miss Marvel.
well, the powers, I'm saying, like, you know, the
Miss
idea
Marvel
of
could
like a
absolutely become
teenager.
Spider-Man and look like him, and
Yeah, I
she
think
could absolutely do
Spider-Man
that.
could be. Yeah, I think Tom Holland too, if he was, you know, or not Tom Holland, but I think if Peter Parker like was in a situation of his own where he developed powers like that. I know her powers come from her gauntlets or whatever, but in the comics I think it's actually different. I think her powers come from she's if I'm not mistaken, she's an Inhuman or X-Men or an Inhuman X-Men hybrid. I could be mistaken, but I think she started out as an Inhuman if I'm not mistaken. But I think that they could definitely swap roles because they have like both just a similar vibe of like high school kid that gets powers that leads to just a tumultuous situation in life. And you could even say that they both kind of look up to the heroes that are around.
What about what about Blade and Deadpool?
I think that would work, but I think, yeah, very different personalities, but
Because again, all you need is for them to take on each other's mantles, and because of Deadpool's abilities,
yeah,
he could deal with vampires and just be like, "I'm undead too," or just like kind of play on that.
I am 100% sure that Deadpool has fought
And
vampires.
I
So
feel like
I
Blade would
think you're
just
right.
handle all of Deadpool's problems fine. Like he'd just be a badass and like take on the same missions and whatever the fuck he's trying to do.
That's a good one. I think you hit the nail on the head
And
with
they
that.
just so happen to kind of
I
have a
still
similar fighting style.
All right. Well, I think you could say Smart Hulk and Luke Cage also. I think that could
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, a lot of the big, again, going for similar fighting styles. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Luke Cage could
All
fill in
right.
for the Thing. You know, She-Hulk. I think hasn't
Let me
She-Hulk filled in for the Thing too?
Yeah, she
Now,
has.
but we're also again thinking mantles, so they got to take on each other's mantles.
So yeah, Luke Cage would have to be super
If Luke
smart
Cage
too.
is
And
taking
not
on the
saying that
mantle
he's
of the
not
Hulk,
smart, but
then he can, but he's going to
okay.
be
I
taking.
got
Well,
one.
hold
I
on.
got
Listen,
one.
listen, listen. All right, check this out. Right, just recently, this is what made me start thinking about this. Just recently, there's a new Venom. I heard about this, and but what?
By the way, I just want to throw this in there. I love this whole thing because this is very Mr. Sunday Movies and Weekly Planet. But
Ooh.
continue.
So the new color scheme for Venom was black and yellow, almost gold, and some people were speculating on who it is. This like new, cool, confident, badass Venom. Some people thought it might have been Luke Cage was the new host of
Yep.
Venom. I don't think it was. I think it ended up being somebody else. But imagine if he did. So like you have Venom, you have Luke Cage taking on the actual symbiote of Venom and becoming Venom. But then you could Venom take on Luke Cage's life? No.
No, but that's what I was gonna say. Is I don't. I think a lot of people could take on the symbiote and Venom's like be a host for Venom. But I don't think.
The only way this works is if Venom gives Luke Cage some of his symbiote, which he can kind of do and pretty much create like an offspring. That could work, and he could be
Mhm.
like, "I'm Venom too, and I'm gonna be Venom." But then Venom could be like, I'm Luke Cage," which I don't think he can because Luke Cage is like just his name, like it's his identity. That's what I was
Yeah,
saying. It's hard. Like
definitely.
nobody can take on being Wolverine except for
All right.
like maybe
I
like Black Panther, maybe
I think Luke Cage could take Captain America's role.
totally,
And I think that from all
totally.
perspectives too, not just like power perspective. I think he could take on the leadership role, and he
Yeah, like
has been
his
the leader to
body
the
is the
Avengers
shield.
before. It is, but you could even give him a shield too.
True, that'd be cool.
But um, I think who else? Who else would
But
work?
again,
All right, well, Smart Hulk and Tony Stark then.
so could Smart Hulk take on the role of Iron Man? All
Yeah,
right, that's
hundred
fair. He
percent.
can make his own Iron Man suit, and he's just like a big Hulk in a suit.
Well,
Totally
he
could.
has been
Yeah, that's
too.
cool. But then, so Iron Man would take on the role of Hulk by using the Hulkbuster armor and just raging out.
Oh, I was just saying that Iron Man becomes like gammet out and becomes a Smart Hulk,
That's fair. So
and Hulk
Hulk,
takes on the role of the Iron
Hulk and
Man,
Venom
and
are
he
kind of
he used it.
easy, a little too easy, because you could be like, yeah, so then that character just takes the Hulk serum or the gamma ray radiation. That character just
Yes,
takes the
but
symbiote. Like that's still
it's
too
not
easy.
at the same time because you're right. Because no, it's not. This is the one time where I'm like genuinely Smart Hulk is the answer, because if you think about it, Tony Stark could become a Smart Hulk and still be like a science bro, and Bruce Banner could become, just regular Bruce Banner in an Iron Man suit and still also be a science bro, like he is a Smart Hulk. So they could really actually take on each other's roles and it would
True.
work. And that being said, another one, Doctor Doom and Tony Stark, they could take on each other's roles.
True.
The only thing is Tony Stark would have to learn how to practice magic, but I don't think that's outside the realm of
Hey,
possibility.
Mr. Fantastic and Professor X.
I don't know about that one.
Is Professor X's
I
telepathy and
would say Mr.
telekinesis
Fantastic and
tied
Tony
to his
Stark.
role on the team too much?
I think it's also about like how individuals would handle telekinesis and telepathy powers, and I don't know, maybe he would probably
I
have
could
a good
imagine. I
handle
could
on it,
just
but
kind of imagine, like, because he's so
yeah,
smart, he's
you
like, yeah,
know,
I could take over being principal of the school and like leading the education of all of the mutants, so they could all become heroes.
yes, yes, but let me
And
throw
then I
this
can
at
imagine
you.
Professor X also just leading the Fantastic Four.
Yes, but Mr. Fantastic has always been a horrible leader and an asshole and
Okay,
very
okay,
selfish.
okay.
And that's very different from
Keep going.
Professor X. Like, I'm not saying that Mr. Fantastic isn't a good guy, because he is. He's genuinely like, he's trying to solve the
You're saying that
Earth's
he would not be
problems.
able to take on the responsibilities of Professor X.
I think he would be able to, but I think he wouldn't be a good leader for that team, for the entire X-Men. I think he
Well, that's why
does
Cyclops is there.
just enough
Cyclops
of.
can kind of take over the leader aspect of it.
Yes, but at the same time, I feel like, I don't know. The way that Mr. Fantastic operates is, for him, he has a tiny, like a close knit family, and sometimes he invites people into his family, but for the most part, it's very just like it's him and his family.
Let's get outside of the
And
X-Men then. I'll stay away from the X-Men.
but Professor, no, to answer, Professor X is very just like, everybody that comes through those doors is my family. It does not matter. Like,
Mr.
I will accept
Fantastic is all
everybody. I'll
about
even
family, bro.
accept my immortal enemy. Yeah, Mr. Fantastic's like Vin Diesel. But I feel like he is, but he's all about his own family. That's my
No, you
point.
can't. No,
He
no, no,
wouldn't.
no. Because at the same time, like
He does. He's
let
not
people
that
into their
welcoming.
families, and like
The, when when Spider-Man tried to join the Fantastic Four, he was like, "Nah, we ain't doing that. We're not doing that,
already
bro."
did.
That was in like one. That was no. Eventually, it was one of the first comic books that Spider-Man was ever in. It's one of the most famous comic books ever. It shows the Human Torch flying up to Spider-Man, who's just chilling with his like Spidey, underarm wing things, and up on like a tube or something like that. That was him trying to join the Fantastic Four in that issue in the 60s. And they were like, "No, bro, we're not doing that. There's four of us. Look it. We're already a team. We don't
He'd
need you.
become the
We're not the
Fantastic
Fantastic
Five, and it
Five."
would have been great.
It would have been amazing, but they didn't do that then, because
Johnny Storm's
really,
too
I think
similar to
Mr.
Spider-Man, huh?
Fantastic. Oh yeah, but that's why they get along so well. That's why, like, he was in if you've ever played the Ultimate Spider-Man game, which was awesome. Also, it came out right after Spider-Man 2 or 3, and it had you play as like Venom as a playable character. It was amazing. You could throw cars around and shit. Awesome. But that game had you basically go you could like go around New York City and like go to the different like the Baxter building and stuff like that. And there was a mini game where you would meet up with Johnny Storm, and you'd have a race against Johnny Storm and see who's quicker. Swinging webs versus him flying with his flame. But it was all like it was a camaraderie thing. It wasn't like, hey, I'm better than you. It was just like, it was for fun. But that's how they are. They're, like you said, they're kind of a similar vibe. I think Daredevil and Spider-Man could work.
He could act as Spider-Man just by using like the way he like uses his poles, his stick things.
No, I'm saying, you mean the so you're saying the powers too?
Just that like it has to make sense, right? Like Wolverine can't really take on the role of Falcon. I guess he could actually. Never mind, that's a bad one.
All right, so I'm thinking about it like this. One day, Matt Murdock woke up and he got bit by a spider, and his dad then got murdered by
That's
thugs
not what I'm
from a
thinking.
game, and it's exactly the same, but instead he becomes
That's not what I'm
Spider-Man.
thinking. I'm thinking Daredevil and Spider-Man know each other,
And then
and they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna be Spider-Man for a while, and you're gonna be Daredevil for a while. Let's see if we can make this work like a classic sitcom scenario."
yeah, well, I was thinking like, and then across town, Spider-Man like gets a whole bunch of toxic waste in the eyes and becomes
Well,
blind,
it's just like
and
this. Like
suddenly
I
all
think I
about
think
vision.
Daredevil and Spider-Man totally work. I think you're right. It's just that Daredevil is gonna need some tech
Well, they both experience personal tragedy too.
I just think it boils down to Daredevil is gonna need some like either his poles are fine, the way he swings around on that is fine enough to act as Spider-Man, and he could wear the Spider-Man costume and work as Spider-Man and handle his villains, and Spider-Man would then take on Daredevil and handle his problems and his villains. I think that does work. I think that totally works. And it's kind of obvious. I don't know why I didn't see it before.
All right, who else?
I was trying to think of a good one that's like really stretching it, but it does make sense. Um,
Kraven the Hunter and the Punisher.
yeah,
I think that works.
yeah. But then as
I think that
Kraven the
works
Hunter,
both
he's
ways.
only hunting animal villains.
I mean, that works.
Like Punisher's just like he wears like a safari outfit. It's just like I'm taking out all these beasts.
Like the Rhino.
Yes, like Rhino. How many
Guys
people have
like
you
that,
killed?
yeah.
I'm taking you down.
I'm putting you down. That's a good concept. I actually like that a lot.
Yeah,
Too.
Craven just goes like, nah, I'm sick. All criminals are fucking monsters and beasts, and I'm hunting everybody like they're an animal.
Yeah, literally, that could work totally. Who else? Who else?
But at the same time, could Craven handle being the Punisher? Would that blow up in his face?
I think he could. I think Craven is really good at setting traps, so he would just trap the
All right,
criminals.
cool.
You know who? You know what? If we're thinking about Mantle now, then we could really use Ghost Rider again for a lot of different characters because it would be hard, I guess, for Johnny Blaze to swap with another hero, but you could give like a lot of characters the mantle of Ghost Rider and it would work. Like Punisher's had that mantle. Freaking Agent Coulson from the Shields show had the Ghost Rider mantle at one point.
I think you could swap Johnny Blaze or the other Ghost Rider guy with the host of Venom. I know, but we already agreed that Venom was too easy.
Yeah, but the Ghost Rider and
So if
Venom
like
are
Eddie
both too
Brock
easy. But
took over the role
you're
of
right though.
Ghost Rider, he would act very much like himself, probably as
Okay,
Venom.
I got one for you then. Okay, Moon Knight and Ghost Rider,
Yeah,
because they're both hosts of a god.
Vengeance. Both vengeance heroes for sure, with
Yep.
mystical abilities.
I think that they could get swapped out.
For sure.
Out. They're not the most similar abilities, but I think they could the fact that the God imparts their powers upon them works. Like you can't just swap out Johnny Blaze with any other hero unless it's like the Hulk or something where he gets the Hulk powers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cuz then Johnny Blaze is just a normal dude that's just really good at riding motorcycles. So you just have to find a dude who's really good at riding motorcycles in the Marvel universe, and there's a lot of them. But they're usually good at other shit.
If you could just erase one existing MCU character from the MCU, just bye, you're gone, we don't need you, and we're gonna be better without you, what would it be?
Oh, that is a really
and it has to be
hard
an important
question.
character.
It has to be important too.
Even though it's unimportant to you, this is supposed to be an important character.
Wow. No, that's a tough question.
I have one.
I have one too. Can he be a side character that was still pretty important to the entire
We'll see.
like the whole thing?
Let me hear it.
All right, Frank Rillo's Crossbones. I would swap him out with somebody else. I don't know who I would swap
he's
him
not
out with,
important enough. I'm sorry.
He is. He led to the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah,
because it was what they did. It was what they
You know
did
who I was
in,
gonna say?
Laos that led to the Avengers getting put down by the
I'll
government.
let you have that one, but I'm gonna need another one.
All right.
And I just want to say that mine was, I forgot her name, but the love interest and like the other character in Iron Fist.
Oh, she's not important. No,
No, but
that entire show's not
she's
important.
the second main character of that show, dude. She is important.
Dude, Frank Grillo appeared more times
He's
than that character
he
did.
has much less screen time than her, I'm pretty sure.
I doubt that.
She's one of the
highly
main
doubt
characters.
that.
She ends the show as well, she's not she doesn't even say she's Iron Fist, but she takes the powers of Iron Fist. She takes the chi of Iron Fist and she has it. She's like the main hero now. But
I'm hating this.
you didn't need to do
I
that because
didn't
now
even
it's not the
watch
Iron
this,
Fist show.
and I'm hating it. Yeah, but all right, that's an easy one to take out and just forget about. All right, Jimmy Woo. Does he count?
Who is he?
He's the guy that was in WandaVision. He was the guy that was in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I'll
He
give
was
you
in,
that. I'll give you that. But at the same time, are you sure that his comedy won't be missed?
I'm pretty sure his comedy will not be missed.
Wow.
I think a lot of characters that were in the Ant-Man and the Wasp movies, you could probably swap out.
Depends on their. I'm talking about like what's another good
I
one?
think
Like
Darren
Korg.
Cross. Darren Cross, you could swap
Like
out.
Korg from Thor. He's like a side character, but he's an important side character. Like he's in the whole movie. He's like in the
You
squad.
could swap him out. Yeah, you could swap.
You could swap him out.
You could do Heimdall. He's an important character, but you could swap him
Too.
out.
Heimdall is within the mythology. He's supposed to be that role.
He is, but you could swap him out with Enchantress or somebody else that has the power to use sorcery to see, like Hela. Hela does. But even though, well, not Hela. I actually meant Frigga.
Also, not just who you could, but who do you want to?
Oh, there's nobody I really want to. I guess Jimmy Woo, because he doesn't contribute anything. Yeah. All right. I would let me preface this by saying I don't want this to be the case, and I want it to be how the original plans were, but I'm okay with the change now. But given everything that's happened, I guess I would swap out Kang. And the reason I would swap out Kang is because I think Kang is a much, much bigger character than what he's gotten. And you could swap that character out with another character like the Beyonder, and then could have saved Kang for a Thanos role in the Infinity Saga with a different actor, and it would have been literally amazing.
Sure.
And then we could have gotten a Doctor Doom Tony Stark facing up against a Kang, and that would have been amazing.
Cool.
But I think that could work.
I like it.
That's the only one that I can say I would want to swap out given how the circumstances are now, but I would only want to swap it out because I just, maybe that would have prevented the situation where we can't use Kang now. You know what I mean? Because I would have wanted to use Kang in the future better. Another character I would have swapped out too, and I would have swapped out the entire storyline for him in general and saved him for another story down the road, would be Ultron.
Yeah. Too soon.
Because I love Ultron, but I don't think that he was done very well. And I was super excited, and that was like Ultron was like my first big disappointment in the MCU, because like I rode my bike to go watch Thor the Dark World and then rode my bike back in the darkness, and I still was really happy about it. And it might even be because of the end credit scene being like Guardians of the Galaxy, so I knew what was up. But I literally was so excited for the MCU after I got home from Thor the Dark World. And in general, like I go back to that movie and I totally skip it and I don't want to watch it because it just bores the hell out of me. But I was so excited.
Ultron should have been the first villain of everything after Endgame.
That would have
After
worked.
Endgame, they're like, let's build something to help us, and then he can work with Hank Pym to build Ultron.
That would have been a good idea, exactly. Something like that. Instead of the way they did it, they could have definitely done something better. And and that's the thing. I don't think that they should have gotten rid of these villains, but I think that they should have pushed them back.
Also,
I
like,
don't like. I
did we
think
need
like
Vision before that? Do we need him before that? Or is the Soul Stone
well
that
we need.
important to Vision? Does he even need to have the Soul Stone?
Well, he has the
The
Mind
Mind
Stone,
Stone,
but
sorry.
I mean he needs it to live according to the movies because he ripped it out of
He's
him and he died.
does he even have the Mind Stone in the comics?
In the comics, no, I don't think he had. What his forehead is it's like it's almost like a solar panel that like powers
He
him.
could have just like if he had just shown up after the Infinity War saga, he could have just been Vision, still attached to Ultron, but like he's the positive thing we get at the end of the Ultron saga anyway. Like that's still great and all, but we
Yeah.
didn't need him early
Oh
on.
yeah, of course. Well, see, in at the time, this is what I kind of wanted to get into too, was a lot of this stuff because I know a lot of like the behind the scenes about this stuff. But at the time in like 2013, there was there was a committee in charge of like the direction of the Marvel movies, and a lot of them were making decisions on how like the movies were gonna go, and a lot of those decisions led to like Ultron being the way he is. But a lot of that also is it was also pushed. Ultron was pushed on them because of the committee. And it was also one of Joss Whedon's pet projects that he really wanted to do. And Joss Whedon, I think, was the wrong choice for
What
Ultron.
would you swap out for the villain of the second movie? Who would you want in there?
Uh,
Also, I will say I also want to swap out Wanda and Pietro and just put two other cool characters that could join the Avengers on that.
yeah, I mean, 100%. You could probably just add the Ant-Man and the Wasp to that, anyways. But
Well, I was thinking at the same time, like these two characters need to
just
be like the
flip their
minions of
movies.
the villain, and that turn over to the right side at the end.
All right, yeah, all right, never mind then. Um, Let me think of some big Avengers villains. There was the Korvac saga, which was a famous one about an alien that like comes and like just attacks the Avengers. It was like one of the first big events in comic books for the Avengers.
What else?
Um, I don't
It
know.
hasn't been
See,
done yet.
the Avengers have well, see, the Avengers have a lot of villains that are like really, really big villains or like just massive threats.
Like
So
they
like
fought Loki.
wait, yes, but Loki was involved with like one of them. Loki was also the first like one that they fought in general in like the entire like line of comics.
Really?
So that's like yeah, the first Avengers comic book of all time is Loki. It shows him on the cover fighting the Avengers and he's like, "Bye, you'll never get me" or something like that. But yeah,
Collector.
it's
What if the
also like
Collector was the villain of the second movie?
well you could
See,
do that. I
you have
think
two characters that could become heroes that are like his minions, only because he collected them,
mhm.
and then they end up switching and helping the Avengers beat the Collector.
Yeah, and theoretically, they could be
They could be
anybody, and
anybody.
then you just
But
add two
I think they should be
aliens.
cosmic characters that could tie us to the Guardians of
Yeah,
the Galaxy a lot easier.
yeah, I agree. The only reason why they went with Petro and Scarlet Witch is because they were, I think, introduced around the same time as the Ultron comics. So I think that's why they did that. Well, not introduced, but like hopped on the Avengers team.
If we're going along with
Um,
do you agree with Collector?
Not entirely, but I see where you're going there, so I'll give you that
And if it's
if that
Collector,
makes
I
sense.
would want the two characters to be Howard the
Like,
Duck
I don't agree with that. Oh, yeah.
and
I don't know. That would be a terrible, terrible move to put
you
Howard the
let me
Duck in the
finish?
Avengers. I don't love the first choice already. Am I gonna really like the second
Howard the
choice?
Duck and Nova.
Nova, yes. Howard the Duck, no. No, Nova, totally. Howard the
All right,
Duck,
who would you
definitely
instead
not.
of Howard the Duck, who then?
I gotta think about cosmic characters. I'm not good with the cosmic characters. I'm more Earth based with my knowledge. I like a lot of like the Marvel Knights, like characters like the anti-heroes and the Midnight Suns, like the mystical characters. Um that's for context. So for outer space characters that I would add to the potential team, holy shit, Nova was perfect. Which it's
Shown up
funny that
yet?
you say Howard. What
Because he
is it?
hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah, no, Nova's
And then he
great, but
can
Nova's
die.
also
He
been
can take the role of
on the
Pietro because he
Avengers.
can die, and then his helmet goes to some kid on Earth.
All right, so you'd need like some kind of mystical hero who's also kind of godlike.
Cosmic.
Cosmic godlike Marvel heroes. Cosmic. I need a refresher.
Look up cosmic Marvel heroes.
Well, I mean, I already got the godlike. All right. Phoenix Force, most powerful Marvel. All right, I'm gonna godlike Marvel characters. I should do heroes though instead of characters, because characters is just gonna come up to like.
Well, Quicksilver was always a
All right,
villain, so they kind of cheated with that anyway.
all right, yeah. Well, he switched sides. He was an Avengers character too when he switched. Hercules could work.
Just two dudes?
There's really not that many other like characters that would work as like side villains
What
with
about...
like godlike power. Even Scarlet Witch pops up in that list.
Since this is so early on, what about Valkyrie?
Valkyrie.
So then it ties to Thor and it ties to Guardians of the Galaxy early
All
on.
right, you could do Enchantress because she wasn't introduced ever, but her sister was in Agents of Shield, so technically she does exist. But
I thought Enchantress was the younger sister of them, of Wanda and Pietro.
no, Enchantress is like a villain of Thor who becomes like a helper of Thor, and she's like
You have a
she's
green
like a
hair?
really powerful. Yeah, I think
Look up
so.
Enchantress X-Men or Mutant.
She's what do you call it, an Asgardian?
Isn't there like another... I swear I remember watching something and it had Enchantress in it with Wanda. They were like standing side by side with Magneto, and
Well,
he was referring to them both as daughters.
I don't think so, but I don't know. Maybe. Real name Amora, one of Thor's greatest enemies. That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
But I think she switches sides sometimes. Supposedly Sylvie is sort of an enchantress variant, supposedly, but I think she's just a Loki variant straight up. But yeah. Yeah, Enchantress is the only one I can think of that would work. But honestly, I think it works introducing Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in that movie. But I think having a different villain definitely would have been a better idea.
Oh,
I think
Polaris.
yeah, she works. But I don't know. Still, I think Scarlet Witch still you needed her. Because you need her for what's happening like down the line. And everything down the line was like planned way ahead of time, and like they sowed the seeds for it, like all the Accord stuff and stuff like that. But you don't need Ultron. You don't need the Avengers to create the threat. You just need the Avengers to create an issue that creates a threat in general. So like the Avengers could be stopping like somebody like Korvac, and then what ends up happening is they end up creating a problem that they have to solve, but if they didn't create that problem trying to stop Korvac in the first place, if they had gotten together with the government and thought of a better solution, then maybe that would have led to a better, you know, this situation not happening. I think that could have worked.
What if
But I think Ultron was just the easiest way to do it too.
what if we got scrolls?
All right, that's that's a good one, a secret invasion saga.
And we can get Super Scroll in that and get like Super Scroll copying the Avengers powers.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. I think that would have worked. The only problem with that is behind the scenes, the Skrulls were owned by I think Fox at the time.
Weird.
I could be mistaken on that, but yeah. But it was because they were primarily a Fantastic Four built.
Yeah.